Okay, Lewis Hamilton fans are the most annoying fans on planet Earth of any team. I include Boston fans. I like they are the absolute worst, and the reason why they're the worst is because they make such bad arguments, right? And they make bad arguments that that are just straightly emotional. All of them just agree with each other, and they never actually like read this like Lewis Hamilton fans base their entire personality off of one race, Abu Dhabi, 2021, and none of them have actually like done the research or learned anything about this race, right? So these are people who are perpetually angry about something, but have never actually done the research about that thing. They just echo the same arguments to each other. And I'm making this video right now because it's the anniversary of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It was like 2 days ago. But one thing that I saw a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans, I just think this is just in bad taste. Even if you do agree with it, they were like, never forget. I mean, never forget, kind of, you know, uh, relates to some tragedies like 9/11. Like, you really shouldn't put it in the same category, but, that's not here or there, right? So, Lewis Hamilton fans' arguments about Abu Dhabi, I made other videos about this, but I'm just going to make this video again because these people are so incredibly wrong about this. Boils down to two main points, right? And by the way, I saw Total Wolf give an interview about this the other day, and even he is fucking ignorant about this, right? So, the first argument that these people make is that Michael Massey only allowed some lapped cars to unlap themselves, thereby giving Max Verstappen an advantage, right? And the second argument is that the race should have ended under yellow flags. It shouldn't have ended under green flags, right? Those are the two arguments that these people make. So I'm just going to give you just a very clear, thorough debunking of these two arguments because they're both stupid. And if you actually watch the race, and if you actually read the FIA report, like, they address these things so clearly and with such common sense that the only reason why this race is a controversy is because Lewis Hamilton fans are still upset about it. They're upset that they lost. There's not actually any controversy involved. So let's go into the question of the cars unlapping themselves, right? So I'm just going to first talk about just like the rules, right? Because I know Lewis Hamilton fans love to talk about the rules, but they actually aren't aware of any of the rules. So this is from the FIA report. So basically, the FIA put out a report after the race. Some fans like to point out, no, this is not the report, this is the executive summary. Okay, it's the what? Like, there's some other information in the actual report that's not in the executive summary? Fuck off. Okay, so I'm going to put your attention specifically to number 32 and number 33. So in number 34, it says very clearly here, in a recent e-vote, the WMSC has confirmed a rule change that clarifies that in case of unlapping all cars rather than any cars have to unlap, right? Meaning that the idea of unlapping some cars was allowed because otherwise they wouldn't have had that rule clarification afterwards, right? This is pretty clear, right? So Michael Massey, he didn't break any rule by allowing only a few cars to unlap themselves, right? But now we have to get into the larger argument. And I made this point in response to this person, and then he blocked me, which, again, is like typical Lewis Hamilton fan, right? They love to argue. They love to pretend that they're arguing with other fan groups, but when anyone actually like gives them a response, they will just block them, right? They'll not actually like engage in an argument, right? So let's say there are three options, right? Option one is no. I said A, B, C. So option A, no lap cars overtake. Option B, only the lap cars between Max and Lewis overtake. And option C, all lap cars overtake, right? The problem with Lewis fans, right, is that they wanted option A, right? And really what should have happened was option C, right? But they didn't want option C. They wanted option A, right? So they got gifted by Michael Massey this thing where actually B happened, which again is legal, as we just looked at through the executive summary. It's legal to do that, right? Only lap cars between Max and Lewis overtake, right? But just if you just think about this logically for just 1 second, right? Is that what difference does it make, right? I mean, it makes a competitive difference for Lance Stroll and the other cars who weren't allowed to overtake. But what difference does that actually make in the battle between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen? It doesn't. There is no difference in that actual battle, whether or not the person behind Max Verstappen is Daniel Ricciardo or Carlos Sainz. It doesn't change anything, right? It really doesn't, right? So what they like to do is they like to point to this thing and say like, oh, it gave Max an advantage because only some. And there's this clip from Drive to Survive that like I'm not impugning Will Buxton. I just think that like he just wanted to do a dramatic thing. Where it's just like, you know, the only person who benefited from this was Max. And like, yeah, I guess so, but like at this point, everything else in the championships and everything had been decided. The only thing that really anyone cared about was the battle between Max and Lewis. That was the focus for Michael Massey. And it was like, why should I, you know, focus on this other stuff? All I really care about is that all anybody cares about is this battle between Max and Lewis, right? So unless any Lewis fan can actually give you a reason why having Carlos Sainz behind Max Verstappen instead of Daniel Ricciardo gave Max a competitive advantage, then this argument doesn't make any sense. Now, one argument that the Lewis fans like to make, and we actually have to go and look at the actual race to show why that this is like a stupid argument, okay? So this is the actual these are the highlights. I'm not allowed to actually like show the full race on this channel, otherwise I get a copyright. Like you can see, so this is the race on lap 57 while the lap cars are overtaking. So one argument that Lewis Hamilton fans love to make is if the basically and this goes into the second point, which is that, you know, so there was barely enough time to bring the safety car in for the one lap race. I'm going to get to that in a second. If the safety car had been brought in, if the rest of the lapped cars had been were allowed to overtake, then there wouldn't have been time to bring all the others to bring the safety car in on time. Basically, like they would have lost so much time from allowing the other lap cars to overtake that at that point it would have been inevitable that the safety car wouldn't have been able to come in on lap 58, right? But if you look at this feed, and by the way, again, this is the feed. I wasn't able to find a picture. Someone else can of right at the moment that the overtaking of the safety car began, but this is right at the moment that they're overtaking the safety car, right? So again, in this race, it is Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc, Vettel, Ricciardo, Stroll, and Schumacher. The three that weren't allowed to overtake were Ricciardo, Stroll, and Schumacher. And you can see this is Ricciardo and this is Stroll right over here. This is Norris, Alonso, Ocon, and Leclerc, right? Okay. Now, let's look at this feed for a second, right? So this is after the cars have been overtaking. Look how close look how close Norris, Alonso, Ocon, and Leclerc are to each other, right? And look how close Ricciardo and Stroll are with each other. We can only assume, and again, like I'm not able to find a picture of this, but you can just extrapolate by watching this video how close, like you can only assume that Leclerc and Ricciardo would have been as close together as, or sorry, this is Verstappen over here. This is Ricciardo over here. You can only assume that Leclerc and Ricciardo were as close to each other as the rest of them are, right? So how long do you think it actually takes? Like, fuck it, we'll just time it right here. We'll just time it right here. How long do you think it would have taken for the extra 3 cars to add to this, right? Let's just look at this film. We're gonna keep this mouse over here, and we're gonna count the amount of time that it takes from from Norris to Vettel, which we can only assume because these are 4 cars. This would have been Verstappen, Ricciardo, Stroll, and Schumacher. We can only assume that that's how much it would have taken for the other 4 cars to pass through. All right? Ready? Let's go. Oh, sorry.
I think it could do.
2
lapped cars.
That's 3 seconds. It would have added an extra 3 seconds of time. Right? We just saw this. You at home just literally saw this video. It took 3 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, 2 seconds, 2.56 seconds, right? Like we can run it back. We can run it back. Let's do it again.
Incident clear.
There's the safety car coming in this lap. We think it.
Okay, so this is the video, right? This is Norris over here, and this is Vettel. Okay, let's count.
Should do.
1,
Could do.
2,
Lapped cars.
3. 3 seconds. It would have added 3 seconds. That's not enough to change whether or not the safety car comes in on time. Come on, let's just be fucking ridiculous. And then this leads me to the big point. This would be their best argument if it wasn't a bad argument, right? This would be the best argument if it wasn't wrong, which is this. The argument here, and this is kind of the big argument, is that the safety car is that the race should have ended under the safety car, right? That like there's a certain amount of laps that it should have taken, and Michael Massey brought the safety car in early, and he did bring it early, 100%. He brought it early so that you could have 1 lap of racing under green flag conditions, right? So let's look at this then. This is number 32. Let's just read the fucking FIA report. It was also considered that the decisions regarding the safety car at the end of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix likely took into account previous discussions, including at meetings of the F1 SAC, the F1 Commission, and F1 team managers that made clear the F1 team's preference to end races under green flag racing conditions rather than behind a safety car when safe to do so. The F1's drivers' consultation confirmed that finishing a race under green flag racing conditions remains desirable, but that safety should always come first. If for safety reasons it is not possible to withdraw the safety car, the F1 team confirmed that they would accept finishing the race under safety car conditions, right? This makes it very clear. What Michael Massey did throughout the entire season, and we know this with F1 rules, guys, like if you don't understand this concept, you're not an F1 fan, you are a fucking soccer fan, right? Under F1, like F1 rules and F1 clarifications change from week to week. They just do, right? We know this. If you actually watch the fucking races, you'll know this. You'll know that certain penalties are applied in certain way in certain races, and they clarify things and they change the application of the rules in other races, right? It is a fluid sport. And Michael Massey, throughout the season, as they said, and I'm assuming they have fucking transcripts for this to prove it, is Michael Massey went to the team principals, went to the drivers and said, hey, look, would you prefer for me to end races under a safety car? Or do you prefer for me to end races under green flag conditions? And they all said, generally said, the majority said, we prefer under green flag racing conditions when possible to get rid of safety, right? Okay, so now you're Michael Massey. This is, and by the way, I think in both, I'm willing to admit this, in both directions, up until this point, the FIA put their thumb on the scale in both Lewis Hamilton's favor and Max Verstappen's favor in order to get an even finish, right? I'll admit that they made some decisions in Max Verstappen's favor. They obviously made a lot of decisions in Lewis Hamilton's favor, like Silverstone, like Jeddah, right? Okay, we got this whole season. We got the greatest championship race in 5 years, right? Possibly the greatest championship race in generations since Senna and Prost, right? Okay, what are you going to do? You're on the final lap. the entire season, the drivers and the team principals have been saying, end this under green flag conditions, right? Christian Horner is in your ear telling you to end it under green flag conditions, and Toto Wolff, who just so happens to be the guy who benefits from it, is telling you to end it under a safety car. What are you doing? It's pretty clear you're ending it under green flag, especially because you've been advised to do so. So this is just the stupidest argument because it's literally... And again, this is why Lewis Hamilton fans are the worst fans in all of sports, because, again, you're basing your entire personality over an event that you have not read the FIA report about, right? Like, at least be like JFK assassination weirdos, or like Twin Towers conspiracy theories weirdos, where you like read every single report and you spend hours online doing your research and learning everything. Like, you guys are not actually reading the reports that you're complaining about, right? And you're basing your entire personality over complaining about these reports. Like, you're basing this off of like you know, like you're making these claims like, oh, if the other 4 cars were to unlap, it would have taken so much extra time. Like, literally, all you have to do is just watch the fucking video with a time with the timer, and you can see that it would have taken 3 seconds, an additional 3 seconds to unlap the other 3 cars, right? Because again, you know, it took 3 seconds from Norris to Leclerc, which is 4 spaces, and then you would have Norris to Vettel, and then you would have had Max Verstappen would run over here, and then you have Ricciardo, Stroll, and Schumacher. An additional 4 spaces with an additional 3 seconds. You just have to do these basic things, guys. That's why you guys fucking suck.